So hopefully we're done with the whole selling beats online is dead myth. I think back when I was first getting into the online beat licensing space, I might have believed that rumor, lie, myth, whatever you want to call it, because my sales weren't that high. I wasn't fully immersed in the market. I didn't understand the market yet. And it took talking directly and forming personal relationships with the people who were involved in that market, seeing not only their story and seeing their successes, but also their consistent growth that converted and convinced me. And fortunately, I've had the privilege to interview a lot of those producers. Probably by now you've seen a lot of those interviews. For example, Cash Money AP, Beat Demons, Dream Life, DG. All these guys are making a living selling beats online. But this market is always expanding, and it's come to include, and this isn't anything new, but for example, loop and sample kits. I interviewed Simon Servita, and that's what he's converting his Beatstars account into, a loop library and drum kit e-commerce website. So now I want to talk about the other part of selling beats online. That's beats with hooks. And people have contacted me and asked me whether or not beats with hooks are more popular, are more viable than beats without hooks. I obviously don't have a ton of numbers to back that up because I don't know, what other producers' experiences are. For me, beats with hooks have helped me out. They've helped me create my sound with the singers I work with: Tina Jean, Ike the Writer, Brianna Marin, Bobby Kennedy, John Conte Jr. A lot of talented writers and singers with whom I'm creating a sound, and we're helping each other's brands out because we're fusing our sounds together. And I've interviewed Brianna Marin before, and if you've ever been involved as a producer or a consumer of beats in the online beat selling marketplace, you've probably heard her name. Even if you just listen to music, you probably heard her name. I think she's the most credited songwriter in the Apple database. And it's because she got into the online producer space as a songwriter, as a singer, as a vocalist. And so I've spoken with her before. We didn't talk hard numbers. Dame had her on musicentrepreneurclub.com for a live session with members, and they talked actual numbers. She talked about making, I believe, up to $3,000 a month her first year and how she did it. And some of the suggestions that I would give to the singers and songwriters who want to get involved in this space, working with producers to write hooks on their beats and create some kind of revenue sharing situation, is the same advice that Lo-Fi gave for producers trying to network with other producers. If a producer, I believe this is what he said, if you like a producer's music, why don't they know it? So starting by initiating that conversation, telling them that you are a fan of their music, having a conversation with them that's long term. Another technique that I've seen singers do is just simply go to a producer's beat store, a producer they want to work with, download one of their free beats, write and record a hook to it, and send it back to them and say, this is what I can do. Do you want to work on some beats with hooks together? So I don't sing and I don't sell hooks. So check out this conversation with Brianna Marin about going from not even knowing what beat leasing was to turning that into a substantial income.
I had a roommate before I lived where I am now, but I was able to move here by myself, get a bigger space, buy amazing equipment, all off of Sound Better. And then from Sound Better, I got involved with Beatstars, and then Beatstar just took my whole life to a whole another level.
Let's talk about that, because Beatstars, Abe is a friend of mine. They're another supporter of what we do. So let's talk about how you are making money on Beatstars as a songwriter. What exactly is the process? How are you doing it? How did you build this presence on Beatstars?
Well, Abe is the one who broke down the whole game of licensing and stuff. Because at first I kind of was like, what is this man even talking about? Yeah. But because it didn't make sense to me, and then I think I'm so used to just money not being present in music, I just didn't believe him. But I felt like I had nothing to lose, so I just wrote a bunch of hooks, and he gave me some tracks. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know anything. I just wrote them, and then he was like, just see what happens, and watch the income, and watch whatever. And I would say from July, maybe July I started, and I was making $30, $20, and I was like, okay. But by the end of the year, I was making $3,000, and then it just kept kind of growing.
3,000 a month.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
I was still doing Sound Better as well. So like the income was nice. It was a nice, like,
Right.
it's
So,
nice.
so Abe was shooting you beats, but you and initially you didn't know who was producing these beats.
No, I didn't know who it was. I didn't care. I just was like, this man just wants hooks. So I just sent him hooks. And then from there, like people started reaching out to me and emailing me, asking me to collaborate with them. I would find people and reach out to them and ask them, you know, like, or sometimes I would just send hooks, and if they liked it, they would just post it. But, and then I have like my favorite, like, you know, the people I just jive with the most. That's pretty much like who I kind of stick around with, because I feel like I make the best music with those people. Then I started getting other writers involved. I had like some of my friends write hooks for me, and I have male vocalists that, you know what I mean? Like I've just started growing that and working on that.
So do you have on Beatstars, do you have your own page, or do you just like put in percentage splits with producers that you work with and the beats are on their page with the hooks?
I have my own page, which is Love Pulse. And so, yeah, we have our own agreements that we make, and typically both of us post. And sometimes there's certain producers that are like, okay, well, if I sell it from my page, I want a higher percentage. And if you sell it from your page, you can get a higher percentage. Some people don't care, and they're like, let's just split it equally. And then there's other producers who don't want to split it at all. And I'm like, cool, you can go work with somebody else.
Right. And do you typically split the revenue 50-50 if you put a hook on their beat?
Yeah, I feel like, because the good thing with that is for the producer, they have two opportunities. You can sell the instrumental and make 100% by yourself, and to supplement your income. That's how I normally would like push it, is it's like to supplement, you can add me on your thing and share the revenue with me, but it's just money you wouldn't have had in the first place. You know what I mean?
So when they sell the beat, there's a beat that's just the instrumental, and then they sell the same beat with the hook on it. So they do both. Because
some people don't want me on the track. And, you know, and then it's like, but the people who do, you got that money.
Right. Okay. And then how does so say I buy the beat with the hook off of Beatstars, how does the publishing work when I register that song? Like, what does the contract stipulate? Is it now 25, 50? Like if or
on my,
that's always an issue with these licensed beats, right? I think,
some people reach out about it, and then some people, because here's the thing, like with music, is some people don't know anything.
Right.
So they don't even.
A lot of people don't know anything.
Right. So they don't even. They don't check for any of that. So I don't actually even get that many messages about that. But every now and again, there's a person that comes along and they've had experience in the music industry. Then they're like, "What's your ASCAP information? What are the splits?" And like blah 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 blah. And I typically say, because in the real world of songwriting, if you write a portion of the song, you're not going to take the whole 50% of anything. So I typically say 25%, and then they can split the other 25% with whoever else they have, and the producer gets the 50%. So, you know, the producer share is typically 50%. So that's typically how I do it.
But that's not is that in the contract when they download the beat with the hook?
My contract, the problem with the licenses is if they buy it off of like Young Taylor's page or Dreamlife page, it's their contract.
Right, okay. So it gets even more.
It's complicated. I always refer to it as the Wild Wild West because there's like no rules.
Right.
So it's complicated.
Right. So technically people should be circling back with you and having this conversation, but because you have the beat, but you have different contract on your page, producer has a different contract on his page, that could potentially lead to a clusterfuck. Should the song like do really well and more people start? Okay.